The silence of the plush back seat was deafening, broken only by the hum of the luxury sedan and the faint thrum of Kalen's own heart, a frantic hummingbird trapped in his ribs. $200,000. That was the figure. The cold, precise sum his family had exchanged for him, for his future, for his very self. He wasn't a son anymore, not in the traditional sense. He was a transaction, a debt cleared, a name saved from ruin. He stared out the tinted window, watching the manicured world blur past. His family, the Thorns, once a name whispered with respect, now clung to the tattered remnants of their prestige. A decaying manor, a mountain of unpaid bills, and the desperate yearning to keep up appearances had driven them to this. He understood. He truly did. But understanding didn't dull the sharp edge of betrayal that sliced through him with every passing mile. Kalen ran a thumb over the worn silver locket he always wore, a gift from his grandmother. Her words, whispered across fading memories, echoed in his mind. Always look deeper, Kalen. Beyond the mask, beyond the anger, beyond the fear. That's where you'll find their true desires. He'd need every ounce of that wisdom now. His new life, as he understood it, hinged on deciphering a woman known for her reclusive nature, her immense wealth, and her notoriously dangerous eccentricities. Lady Serafina Volkov, his fiancée, his captor. The car slowed, turning off the main road onto a private, winding drive. Majestic iron gates, intricate as black lace, but undeniably formidable, loomed ahead, emblazoned with a stylized V. They slid open with an ominous sigh, revealing a meticulously paved road that ascended into a dense, ancient forest. Surveillance cameras, subtle yet omnipresent, tracked their progress. This wasn't just a home. It was a fortress, a gilded cage designed to keep the world out and, Kalen suspected, to keep him in. Minutes stretched into an eternity as they ascended. The air grew cooler, thinner. Finally, the trees parted and the Volkov estate burst into view, a Gothic modern marvel sprawling across a secluded mountain plateau. It was a symphony of dark stone, gleaming glass, and severe, elegant lines, all bathed in the late afternoon sun that cast long, dramatic shadows. Towers pierced the sky, their tips catching the light like obsidian needles. It was beautiful, terrifyingly so, a monument to power and isolation. The car pulled up to the main entrance, a massive, arched portico where a figure stood waiting. Tall, slender, dressed in an impeccably tailored, charcoal gray uniform, she possessed an air of severe authority. Her salt and pepper hair was pulled back into a severe bun, and her sharp, intelligent eyes, the color of jade, assessed Kalen with an unsettling intensity as the driver opened his door. Mr. Thorne, the woman's voice was crisp, devoid of warmth. Welcome to the Volkov estate. I am Lena, Lady Serafina's head maid. Kalen exited the car, straightening his simple, if well-maintained, suit. Lena. Thank you. His voice was steady, belying the tremor in his hands. He met her gaze directly. He wouldn't show fear, not yet. He wouldn't give them that satisfaction. Lena gave a curt nod. Lady Serafina awaits you. If you would please follow me. She turned, leading him through the colossal oak doors that swung inward silently, revealing an entrance hall that dwarfed anything Kalen had ever seen. The ceiling soared 3 stories high, adorned with a minimalist chandelier that pulsed with a soft, ethereal glow. Polished black marble gleamed underfoot, reflecting the muted light from tall, arched windows that offered breathtaking views of the valley below. Yet, despite the grandeur, the space felt cold, vast, echoing with a profound emptiness. Lena led him down a long corridor, past doors of polished wood and walls adorned with abstract, modern art that seemed to vibrate with unspoken tension. Kalen cataloged everything, the subtle drone of the climate control, the faint scent of lilies, and something metallic, like polished steel, the almost imperceptible hum of unseen security systems. This place was a carefully constructed machine, and he was now a cog in its intricate mechanism. They stopped before a set of double doors, larger and more ornate than the others, featuring stylized silver vines intertwining on their surface. Lena paused, pressing a discreet panel beside the frame. A soft chime sounded, and the doors glided open without a touch. "Lady Seraphina," Lena announced, stepping aside. "Mr. Thorne has arrived." Kalen took a deep breath, steeling himself, and stepped into the room. It was a private salon, bathed in the soft, warm glow of a roaring fireplace, a surprising counterpoint to the mansion's otherwise stark aesthetic. Rich, dark wood paneled the walls, shelves overflowing with ancient leather-bound books, their spines glinting in the firelight. A grand piano sat silently in one corner, its polished surface reflecting the flickering flames. And in the center, lounging on a chaise lounge upholstered in crimson velvet, was Seraphina. She was breathtaking. Her hair, a cascade of midnight silk, flowed over her shoulder, framing a face of exquisite, almost ethereal beauty. High cheekbones, a delicate nose, and lips painted a deep, alluring rose. But it was her eyes that held him captive, wide, liquid pools of obsidian that seemed to absorb every shred of light and every piece of Kalen into their depths. She wore a simple, yet impossibly elegant, black silk gown that clung to her curves, accentuating her graceful, almost predatory, stillness. A tiny, knowing smile played on her lips as her gaze raked over him, slow and deliberate, like a cat toying with its prey. Kalen felt a prickle of unease, a cold dread seeping into his bones. It wasn't the look of a curious fiancé, but of an owner assessing new property. "Kalen," she purred, her voice a low, melodic whisper that nevertheless carried an undeniable undercurrent of steel. "You're here. Finally." She rose with an unnerving grace, her movements fluid and silent. She wasn't tall, but her presence filled the expansive room, dominating it. She moved towards him, slowly, deliberately, and Kalen felt himself rooted to the spot, a deer caught in a predator's stare. "Lady Seraphina," he managed, bowing his head slightly, trying to project a respectful deference he didn't entirely feel. She stopped inches from him, close enough for him to catch the faint, intoxicating scent of jasmine and something else, something sharp and potent, like a hidden danger. Her hand, slender and cool, reached out, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw, then trailing down his neck, her touch light but possessive, a brand being pressed onto his skin. His breath hitched. "Look at me, Kalen," she commanded, her voice softening, yet somehow growing more insistent. He lifted his gaze to meet hers. Her eyes were impossibly dark, reflecting the fire, and in their depths, he saw not warmth, but an intense, almost suffocating devotion. It was beautiful and utterly terrifying. "You're even more refined than your photograph suggested," she murmured, her thumb brushing his lower lip. "And you smell clean, untouched, perfect." The word perfect hung in the air, a bell tolling a sentence. He felt a tremor go through him, a stark realization of the depths of the trap he was in. This wasn't merely an arranged marriage, it was an acquisition. Seraphina's smile widened, a touch of something almost childlike in its delight, yet utterly chilling. "My family purchased you, Kalen. Your family sold you. It's a simple transaction. But for me, it means you are mine. Completely. Utterly. And I will ensure you are happy here. You will never want for anything. You will never need anyone but me." The possessiveness, raw and unadorned, hit him like a physical blow. He felt his grandmother's words whisper in his mind again, "Beyond the fear, Kalen. Find the desire." He looked past the chilling smile, past the absolute control in her eyes, searching for the crack, the insecurity, the yearning that drove this obsession. He saw it, a flicker of profound loneliness, a hunger for connection so intense it warped into something monstrous. Lena cleared her throat softly from the doorway. "Lady Seraphina, perhaps Mr. Thorne would like to settle into his chambers before dinner." Seraphina's eyes, which had been fixed solely on Kalen, darted to Lena, a flash of annoyance, quickly suppressed. "Indeed, Lena. He has had a long journey." But she turned back to Kalen, her eyes boring into his. "Do not think this is merely a reprieve, Kalen. This is your home now, your world. And I intend to make it everything you ever wanted, whether you know it yet or not." Her hand left his jaw, moving to cup his cheek, her touch gentle, yet it felt like a silent handcuff clicking into place. Sleep well, my love. Tomorrow, our life begins. Kalen watched her, the fear still a cold knot in his stomach, but beneath it, a spark ignited. His family had sold him. Serafina believed she owned him. But Kalen Thorne wouldn't merely survive this golden cage. He would learn its bars, understand its keeper, and then he would reshape it. He would forge this beautiful, terrifying woman into the perfect wife, but on his terms. And he knew, with a certainty that both chilled and thrilled him, that it would be the most dangerous, exhilarating game he had ever played. He had to tame her before her love consumed them both. Chapter 2: Deciphering the Siren. The first light of dawn, filtered through heavy, soundproofed drapes, did little to dispel the lingering chill of Kalen's new reality. His ornate bed, larger than any he'd ever slept in, felt less like a sanctuary and more like a stage for an elaborate, gilded performance. He was a prop, purchased and placed. Yet, as the initial shock and terror began to recede, a familiar, stubborn resilience stirred within him. His grandmother's words echoed in his mind, soft as a lullaby yet sharp as a surgeon's scalpel. Everyone wears a mask, Kalen. But if you watch closely enough, the threads always show. Find the gaps, child, find the gaps. Kalen rose, stretching muscles that still felt stiff from the previous day's ordeal. The suite he occupied was magnificent, a sprawling space with towering windows, a private sitting area, and a bathroom that could rival a high-end spa. But the luxury was cold, sterile. He tried the door to the hallway. It opened easily. A small victory, or merely an illusion of freedom. He pushed further, stepping out into a silent corridor. The Volkov estate was less a mansion and more a self-contained world. Its Gothic modern architecture seemed to consume sound, leaving an eerie quiet in its wake. High-tech sensors, almost invisible against the polished stone and rich wood, blinked subtly from various alcoves, a constant reminder of the unseen eyes. Kalen had no doubt he was being monitored, every breath, every movement. It was a golden cage, yes, but a cage nonetheless. His explorations were brief and cautious. He found a grand staircase leading to what appeared to be formal living areas and a library. Another wing suggested private quarters. No other residents, no bustling staff. Just the hushed echoes of his own footsteps. It was unnerving, this immense space designed for multitudes, inhabited by so few. Serafina truly lived in isolation. At precisely 8 o'clock, a soft chime announced breakfast. Kalen followed the faint sound to a sun-drenched dining room. Lena, the head maid, was already there, meticulously arranging a silver service. Her presence was a grounding force in this ethereal house. She offered a small, almost imperceptible nod as he entered. "Good morning, Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice smooth and devoid of inflection. "Lady Serafina will join us shortly." Kalen took a seat, the heavy silverware cool beneath his fingers. "Lena," he began, keeping his voice even, "how many staff are there typically in the estate?" She paused, her hand hovering over a crystal water glass. "A core team of 15, Mr. Thorne, managed remotely or present as required. The majority handle exterior security and maintenance. Inside, it is usually myself and a small housekeeping crew on rotation." 15. In this colossal edifice. Kalen felt a prickle of understanding. Serafina's world was intensely controlled, meticulously isolated. This wasn't just about protecting her, it was about ensuring absolute privacy, absolute dominion over her immediate environment. Serafina arrived then, gliding into the room with an almost ethereal grace. She wore a simple, elegant silk robe that shimmered in the morning light, her dark hair a cascade against its pale fabric. Her eyes, the color of twilight, immediately found his, a possessive warmth blossoming in their depths. "Kalen," she purred, the sound a low vibration. She took her seat directly opposite him. "I trust you slept well?" "As well as can be expected, Lady Serafina," he replied, a polite smile fixed on his face. He watched her as she poured herself tea, her movements precise, almost ritualistic. He noticed the slight tremble in her hand as she lifted the delicate cup, a tiny fissure in her composed facade. Grandmother's words. A hint of vulnerability. A thread. Over the next few days, Kalen made observation his primary occupation. He ate meals with Serafina, walked the vast, manicured gardens, always with a silent security detail, always with Serafina observing from a distance or joining him, and spent evenings in the enormous library. A treasure trove of knowledge that felt like a deliberate offering, a golden bait. He started compiling a mental dossier on Serafina Volkov. Routine, impeccable. She woke early, took a solitary walk in a glass-enclosed atrium, had breakfast, then retreated to her private study. Afternoons were spent on various pursuits, art, music, reading. Evenings were quiet, often shared with Kalen. There were no social calls, no outside visitors. Her world revolved entirely around the estate, and now him. Control, absolute. From the placement of the flowers to the timing of meals, everything was orchestrated. The house was a reflection of her will. When Kalen once innocently reached for a book on a shelf slightly out of order, Serafina's eyes had sharpened, a barely perceptible flicker of annoyance crossing her features before she smoothly redirected him to another title. She liked things perfect, ordered. Perhaps because her inner world was anything but. Hidden vulnerabilities, these were harder to discern, glimpses rather than revelations. That slight tremor. The way her gaze would sometimes linger on him, a raw hunger in her eyes that transcended mere physical attraction. It was a longing for something deeper, something she hadn't found. He'd seen her once, through a half-open door, sitting at a grand piano, her fingers hovering over the keys, not playing, just staring out at the rain-lashed valley. Her posture had been one of profound, aching solitude. Lonely. So terribly, profoundly lonely. This was the core Kalen began to identify. All her power, all her wealth, all her terrifying possessiveness sprang from an abyssal well of loneliness. She was an empress in an empire of one, and she had bought him to fill the void. During a shared evening in the library, Kalen decided to test a boundary subtly. He was reading a dense historical text, Serafina across from him, sketching in a leather-bound book. Lady Serafina, he began, closing his book, I've been reading about the old Volkov lineage. Your ancestors were prominent in the textile industry, weren't they? She looked up, her charcoal-smudged hands still. Indeed. For centuries. Our name was synonymous with quality silks and unique dyes. Her tone was flat, almost detached. It's fascinating, Kalen continued, choosing his words carefully. I've always been drawn to how craftsmanship evolves. I recall my own grandmother. She had a small loom, insisted on making her own shawls. Said it kept her hands busy and her mind sharp. He offered a small, wistful smile, a carefully constructed memory of shared warmth. Serafina's posture shifted, ever so slightly. Her gaze softened, losing some of its predatory edge. Your grandmother, she murmured, the words tinged with something akin to curiosity, a rare crack in her icy exterior. She sounds resourceful. She was, Kalen affirmed. She taught me much. To observe, to understand what people truly seek beneath their words. He let the implication hang in the air, a subtle challenge, an invitation. He saw a flicker of something in her eyes, suspicion, perhaps, but also a nascent interest. He had offered her a glimpse of his internal world, a fragment of his past that wasn't about her. And she hadn't recoiled. Later that week, he pressed a little more. He noticed her sketching again, focusing on the intricate patterns of a tapestry hanging on the wall. That's beautiful, Lady Serafina, he said, approaching her chair slowly. The way you capture the light and shadow on the threads. She glanced up, a faint flush coloring her cheeks. It's merely an exercise in detail. But detail born of passion, surely, Kalen countered gently. Or perhaps, a deep appreciation for beauty? I find that art often speaks louder than words. It reveals the artist's soul. He paused, allowing his gaze to meet hers fully. What draws you to this particular design? Serafina hesitated, her charcoal poised. It reminds me of resilience, she finally admitted, her voice lower than usual. The threads interwoven, complex. How they hold together, even when strained. Kalen felt a surge of triumph. He had found another threat, a significant one. Resilience. Holding together. Strain. These were words that spoke volumes about her own perceived strength and, perhaps, her underlying fear of fraying. Resilience is a powerful quality, Kaylin agreed, leaning subtly closer, a gesture of shared intimacy. And beautiful too, like the woman who captures its essence on paper. Her breath hitched. He saw the color deepen in her cheeks, her eyes widening slightly. He had given her a genuine compliment, one that acknowledged her skill and connected it to a deeper part of her personality. He wasn't praising her wealth or her beauty in a superficial way. He was praising her soul, however guarded. Kaylin, she began, her voice a whisper, almost a question. He smiled, a soft, genuine smile that reached his eyes, free of the polite mask he usually wore. You see more than just patterns, Serafina. You see meaning. A strange, almost startled look crossed her face. He had called her by her first name, a quiet act of intimacy, a breach of the unspoken formality they usually maintained. He had offered a connection, a level of understanding she rarely received. He saw the struggle in her eyes, the instinct to reassert control, to pull back, warring with a desperate craving for the very thing he was offering. She closed her sketchbook abruptly, the soft thud echoing in the vast room. She stood, turning her back to him for a moment before facing him again, her composure partially restored. But her eyes, though still intense, held a new, fragile depth. Perhaps, she said, her voice steadier now, but still carrying a subtle tremor. Perhaps I do. And perhaps, you see more than I give away, Kaylin Thorne. She held his gaze, a challenge and an invitation intertwined. Tell me, what else do you see? The air crackled with unspoken tension, a game of psychological chess laid bare. Kaylin knew this was his moment. He had observed, he had identified, and now he had provoked a reaction. He had shown her a path to deeper connection, a glimpse of genuine understanding, and it had shaken her. The ball was in his court. He just had to decide how to play it without losing himself in the process. Chapter 3. Strategic Affection. The gilded cage shimmered in the morning sun, but Kaylin no longer saw just bars. He saw the intricate design, the precise craftsmanship, the vulnerable points where a gentle touch might loosen a hinge. His grandmother's voice echoed, soft as a mountain breeze. Observe, Kaylin. Truly observe. Everyone has a heart, even if it's encased in ice. Find the warmth, and you might just melt the ice. His strategy began subtly, woven into the fabric of their forced cohabitation. He stopped hiding, stopped trying to fade into the background. Instead, he made himself present, an undeniable, active participant in their shared days. The first morning, he descended for breakfast before Lena had to summon him. Serafina, poised at the head of the impossibly long dining table, paused with her teacup midway to her lips, her eyes widening almost imperceptibly. "Good morning, Serafina," he said, his voice calm, even, devoid of the forced deference he'd shown before. He took the seat opposite her, a comfortable distance, but not one that suggested flight. She set her cup down with a delicate clink. "You're early." It wasn't a question. "I find mornings invigorating. And I dislike being late." He offered a small, polite smile. Lena, arranging a platter of exotic fruit, watched them with an unreadable expression. From that day on, Kaylin made it a point to join her for breakfast, then for their walks in the meticulously manicured gardens, and often for a quiet hour in the cavernous library. He didn't press for conversation, didn't demand anything. He simply was there. He'd read a book quietly while she scrolled through her tablet, or watched the koi glide through the ornamental pond as she made calls. The first few days, Serafina remained wary, her gaze tracking him with the intensity of a predator assessing newly cooperative prey. But as his presence became a gentle, unwavering constant, a subtle shift occurred. Her shoulders seemed to relax a fraction, the sharp angles of her jaw softened. She'd offer a brief comment on the weather, or ask his opinion on a trivial matter, a choice of dinner wine, the precise shade of a new rose bloom. Kaylin responded with genuine attention. He listened, truly listened, using his grandmother's wisdom to peer beneath her words. He learned that her precise, almost rigid routines were a comfort, a bulwark against the chaos of the world she meticulously kept at bay. He learned that her preference for cool colors extended to her emotions, which she kept under an almost frigid control, lest they expose the vast, echoing emptiness beneath. One afternoon, he found her sketching in a sunlit conservatory, delicate charcoal lines forming a Gothic archway, stark and beautiful. He watched silently for a moment, then approached. "That's beautiful, Serafina," he said, genuinely impressed. "You have a remarkable talent." She started, her hand freezing. "Kaylin, I didn't hear you approach." Her tone was guarded, but there was a flicker of something else. Vulnerability? Pride? "My apologies. I didn't mean to disturb you, but I couldn't help but admire your work." He didn't try to touch it, didn't invade her space. He simply appreciated. Her gaze met his, searching, as if trying to discern a hidden motive. "It's just a hobby. A deeply practiced one, I'd say. The precision in your lines, the weight of the shadows, it speaks volumes." He smiled, a soft, encouraging curve of his lips. A faint blush touched her pale cheeks, a rare sight. "Thank you." It was a quiet, almost hesitant whisper. He knew then he had landed a hit. Unsolicited, genuine appreciation was a currency she rarely received. He continued this careful dance. He'd bring her a cup of tea, exactly how she liked it, without being asked. He'd hold a door open for her, a gesture of simple courtesy. He'd offer a comforting touch, a hand on her arm when she seemed lost in thought, a gentle squeeze of her shoulder when he sensed a moment of quiet melancholy. These weren't grand romantic gestures, they were small, consistent affirmations of his presence, his awareness, his quiet care. Her response was fascinating. Her possessiveness didn't vanish, it simply reoriented itself. Instead of seeing him as an object to be secured, she began to treat him as a prized possession she owned, but one that offered unexpected rewards. She started seeking him out. Her gaze, once a surveillance beam, became a silent invitation. She'd leave a book open on a specific page she thought he might enjoy, or pause by the piano, humming a tune she knew he liked, waiting for him to join her. Kaylin understood. He was providing the genuine companionship, the understanding, the warmth she craved. And in doing so, he was slowly, inexorably, becoming indispensable to her. He was allowing her to believe she was taming him, making him willingly devoted, even as he carefully cultivated the very devotion he desired from her. But this delicate balance was constantly threatened by her inherent possessiveness, which had only shifted, not disappeared. It was merely dormant until provoked. And Kaylin knew he had to provoke it, to understand its true depth. The first genuine flare-up happened in the expansive, multi-tiered library. Kaylin had discovered a rare, first-edition collection of classic political philosophy texts. Lost in the dense prose of Machiavelli, tracing the historical currents of power and human nature, he felt a familiar intellectual hunger ignite. He'd been engrossed for nearly an hour, barely aware of the passage of time. Serafina entered, her soft slippers making no sound on the ancient Persian rugs. He didn't notice her until she cleared her throat, a delicate, almost melodic sound that nevertheless cut through his concentration like a razor. He looked up, blinking. "Oh, Serafina. I didn't hear you." He marked his page and closed the heavy tome, placing it carefully on a nearby table. "Is everything all right?" She stood a few feet away, her arms crossed, her expression a careful mask. But her eyes, the color of winter ice, held a dangerous spark. "You seemed preoccupied." "This book is fascinating," he said, gesturing towards it. Machiavelli's theories on power dynamics are incredibly insightful, even today. It makes you wonder how much truly changes in human nature, regardless of the era. He looked at her, expecting perhaps a flicker of interest, a question. Instead, her lips thinned. "Is it more fascinating than our conversation?" Kaylin paused. "We weren't conversing," he replied, keeping his tone even, curious rather than defensive. "I was simply reading." "And you prefer the company of dead men to mine?" Her voice was soft, dangerously so. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. He met her gaze, sensing the precipice. This was it. The possessiveness, stirred by a perceived rival, even a philosophical treatise. Not at all, Serafina. But I am accustomed to intellectual pursuits. They engage a different part of my mind. Your mind is mine, Kaylin. Her voice was a silken thread. She walked towards the book, her movements fluid and predatory. She picked it up, her delicate fingers surprisingly strong, and before he could react, she hurled it across the room. It slammed into a distant bookshelf with a sickening thud, pages fluttering wildly. Kaylin flinched, not at the noise, but at the sheer force of her anger. His eyes narrowed. This was not the icy control he'd grown accustomed to. This was raw, untamed fury, born from the fear of being displaced, overlooked. Serafina, he said, his voice firm, unwavering. He stood slowly, deliberately. That was unnecessary. Her eyes flashed. Unnecessary? You ignore me for a dusty old book. You immerse yourself in thoughts I cannot share, in worlds I cannot enter. What am I to you, Kaylin? A distraction? A pretty adornment while you pursue your intellectual pursuits. She closed the distance between them in 2 swift strides, her face inches from his, her scent, expensive perfume, sharp and clean, filling his senses. You are my fiancé, he stated, his voice calm, even though his heart hammered a frantic rhythm against his ribs. And I do not appreciate my belongings being destroyed, nor being spoken to in such a manner. He chose his words carefully, framing it as an issue of respect and ownership, something she understood intrinsically. Her eyes, blazing moments before, flickered with surprise, then something akin to confusion. He hadn't cowered. He hadn't apologized profusely. He had challenged her. Belongings, she whispered, the edge of fury still present. You are my belonging, Kaylin Thorne. And a man takes care of his own belongings, Serafina, he retorted, holding her gaze. As I expect you to take care of mine. He softened his tone slightly. I value your company, more than you know. But I also value my own mind, my own interests. To ask me to abandon them is to ask me to be less than myself. And you would not want a lesser man, would you? He injected a subtle challenge, appealing to her desire for perfection, for the best. Her breath hitched. She stared at him, her chest rising and falling rapidly. He could see the conflict warring within her, the deep-seated possessiveness battling with a nascent understanding that perhaps, just perhaps, his distinctness, his otherness, was part of what made him valuable. Her hand, trembling slightly, reached out and cupped his cheek. Her touch, usually so cool and measured, was surprisingly warm, almost feverish. No, she breathed, her eyes searching his, desperate and intense. No, I want all of you, Kaylin. Every thought, every interest. But I need them to be mine. Only mine. He leaned into her touch, a calculated risk. And they can be. But not by force. By sharing. He paused, allowing his eyes to convey a deeper meaning. If you wish to know my thoughts, Serafina, ask me about the book. Ask me to share it with you. Her fingers tightened on his jaw, a possessive grip that was almost painful. The intensity in her eyes was frightening, but beneath it, he saw a glimmer of hope, a desperate yearning for connection. This was the core. The terrifying obsession wasn't about control alone. It was about the fear of losing him to anything or anyone, even a concept. He had offered her a different path, a way to possess his interests, not just suppress them. The question was, would she take it? As her grip lingered, her gaze fixated on him with a hungry, almost devouring intensity, Kaylin knew he had just opened a new, more dangerous, yet potentially more rewarding, phase of his game. He had offered a taste of intimacy and shared interest. Now he would have to manage the insatiable hunger that had just been awakened. The tentative truce Kaylin had carefully cultivated with Serafina had begun to bloom into something fragile, yet surprisingly real. Days had woven into weeks, each marked by subtle shifts. Serafina's intense gaze still followed him, but less like a hawk and more like a possessive, watchful lover. Their shared meals were no longer interrogations, but conversations, where Kaylin subtly probed her interests, her dreams, and the vast, empty spaces in her life. He'd discovered her passion for obscure classical music, her fascination with ancient languages, and a surprising fondness for a particular breed of white rose she cultivated in the estate's extensive greenhouses. He'd even managed to negotiate small freedoms, supervised walks in the nearer gardens, access to a library surprisingly rich in history and philosophy, and, crucially, an allowance of 20 minutes of internet access each evening, always monitored. Of course, these small victories were monumental. They were trust, however conditional. The change in Serafina was palpable. Her smiles, once chillingly predatory, now held a flicker of genuine warmth, especially when Kaylin offered a thoughtful observation about one of her interests, or simply listened, truly listened, to her elaborate explanations of a forgotten historical event. He'd started to see beyond the tyrant to the lonely woman, starved for connection, who truly believed her harsh control was the only way to keep anything precious to her from slipping away. His grandmother's voice echoed in his mind. Everyone has a reason, Kaylin. Find the reason, and you'll find the path. He was finding the path. He was offering her the one thing no amount of wealth or power could buy, genuine, unwavering attention and understanding. The serene rhythm, however, was shattered by a seemingly innocuous delivery. One crisp autumn afternoon, Kaylin was engrossed in an ancient Greek text in the conservatory, the dappled sunlight warming his face, when a sharp rap on the glass door startled him. Lena stood there, a plain brown package clutched in her hands, her expression unreadable. "A delivery for you, Mr. Thorne," she stated, her voice its usual steady monotone. "It arrived this morning." Kaylin took the package, a sudden flicker of unease stirring within him. He rarely received mail. It was a slender box, surprisingly heavy, and bore no sender's address, only a generic courier label. Curiously, he tore open the simple brown paper, revealing a sleek, dark blue box. Inside, nestled on velvet, was a pristine, first-edition copy of a rare botanical encyclopedia, a specific volume on carnivorous plants that he'd mentioned to a former university professor years ago, a fleeting, passionate interest from his pre-Volkov life. A small, handwritten note tucked inside read, "Hope you're well, Kaylin. Remember our debates on the Venus flytrap? Thought you'd appreciate this. Professor Eldridge." A smile, genuine and unforced, touched Kaylin's lips. It was a fleeting connection to his old life, a reminder that he was still Kaylin, a man with passions beyond simply surviving Serafina. He carefully lifted the book, its pages smelling faintly of old paper and fresh ink, a welcome scent in this opulent but sterile world. He didn't notice Serafina standing in the archway, her form perfectly still, a shadow against the bright conservatory. She must have been observing them, her usual morning routine. Her eyes, usually pools of violet, had narrowed to cold, hard amethyst slivers fixed on the book in his hands, then on the genuine smile that hadn't been directed at her. The air in the conservatory grew several degrees colder. That evening, the subtle shifts in her demeanor began. She barely spoke during dinner, her fork scraping against her plate with unnerving precision. When Kaylin tried to recount an interesting passage from his new book, she simply cut him off with a curt, "I'm not interested in such trivialities, Kaylin. Focus on what truly matters." Her gaze was an icy weight. The next day, his internet access was revoked, without explanation. The old botanical book was gone from his nightstand. He searched for it, his heart sinking, but it had vanished. He found Lena in the kitchen, preparing Serafina's herbal tea. "Lena, did you see my new book?" he asked, trying to keep his voice level. Lena stirred the tea leaves, her back to him. "Lady Serafina asked for it, Mr. Thorne. She wished to review its contents." "Review its contents?" Kaylin felt a prickle of annoyance. "It's a book on plants, Lena. And a gift." Lena turned, her eyes meeting his, filled with a familiar, weary knowing. "Everything in this estate, Mr. Thorne, is subject to Lady Serafina's discretion. Especially anything that connects you to an outside world she cannot control." He understood. He understood completely. His carefully constructed equilibrium was teetering. The following days were a return to the chill of his arrival. Serafina stopped joining him for walks. Her goodnight kisses, which had begun to feel less like a brand and more like a tender gesture, ceased. She became an elegant, silent sentinel, omnipresent yet distant, her watchful eyes missing nothing. The surveillance became overt once more. He'd catch the glint of a camera lens shifting, hear the subtle click of a lock, or find a security guard inexplicably loitering outside his door. He felt the cage tightening, piece by calculated piece. The air grew heavy with unspoken accusations and a chilling possessiveness that radiated from her. The perceived threat, a forgotten professor, a simple book, had unleashed the monster he'd been so carefully trying to tame. One afternoon, he found her in the main lounge, staring out at the rain-streaked valley, a glass of amber liquid in her hand. Her silhouette was regal, but the tension in her shoulders was palpable. The air crackled with her silent fury. "Serafina," Kalen began, his voice calm, even though his heart was thudding against his ribs. This was it. The confrontation he knew was inevitable. She didn't turn. "Yes, Kalen." Her voice was silk, but laced with a razor's edge. "Where's the book, Serafina?" She took a slow sip of her drink. It was unsuitable. Distracting. Distracting from what? She finally turned, her eyes blazing. "From us, Kalen. From what we are building here. You receive a letter, a gift from some forgotten acquaintance, and suddenly you are lost in a world that has no place for me. A world that could take you away from me." Her voice rose, betraying the raw fear beneath her anger. "No one is taking me away, Serafina," Kalen said, stepping closer, careful to maintain a non-threatening posture. "It was a gift, a pleasant memory. Nothing more. Nothing more." Her laugh was bitter. "Everything is more. Every connection outside these walls is a thread that can pull you away. Every thought not consumed by us is a betrayal. Do you not understand? I have given you everything. This estate, this life, my love. And you pine for dusty books and forgotten friends." Her face was contorted, her elegant features twisted by a childish terror. Kalen saw past the rage, past the imperious facade. He saw the little girl, abandoned and alone, terrified of losing the one source of warmth she had ever known. His grandmother's words returned with renewed clarity. "Fear makes monsters, Kalen. Only true courage can tame them." He took a deep breath. This was the moment. He had to be courageous, for both of them. "Serafina," he said, his voice dropping to a low, firm register, drawing her attention with its sheer conviction. "Look at me." She met his gaze, still furious, still terrified. "What you are doing is not love," he stated plainly, unflinchingly. "It is fear. You are terrified of losing me, so you try to control me. You try to erase every part of me that existed before you, every connection that doesn't revolve around you." She flinched as if struck. "I simply want to protect what is ours." "There is nothing ours if there is no me," Kalen countered, stepping even closer, forcing her to see the conviction in his eyes. "You are trying to hold on to a ghost, Serafina. The Kalen you want to build, the Kalen who exists only for you, is not real. And a love built on an illusion will crumble. It will always be fragile, always shadowed by your fear that I might discover a world beyond this golden cage." He reached out, slowly, deliberately, and gently took her trembling hand. Her fingers were cold. "I am here, Serafina. I chose to stay. I have been trying to understand you, to connect with you, to build something real with you. And I want to continue doing that. I want to make this work for both of us." Her eyes widened, brimming with unshed tears. The sophisticated veneer finally cracked, revealing raw, bleeding vulnerability. But he continued, his voice softening, yet still firm. "True love, true connection. It isn't about imprisonment. It's about trust. It's about accepting the other person, whole and complete, with their past, their interests, their autonomy. I need to be Kalen, the man who occasionally enjoys a rare book, who has memories, who has thoughts that aren't only about you. And for that choice to mean anything, it has to be a choice. I cannot truly choose you if you don't allow me to choose anything else." He squeezed her hand gently. "I am not going to leave you, Serafina. Not unless you drive me away by trying to snuff out every spark of who I am. You do not need to control me to keep me. You need to trust me. You need to trust us." And I need to know you are capable of that trust, that you can see a future where my devotion is given freely, not coerced. Her lower lip trembled. A single tear escaped, tracing a path down her cheek, leaving a glistening trail. She gazed at him, her defenses utterly shattered, her fear and yearning laid bare. The woman who commanded an empire, who controlled every aspect of his existence, suddenly looked utterly lost, utterly broken. But what if, she whispered, her voice barely audible, choked with emotion, what if I let go, and you truly see the world outside this place, and you decide I am not enough? Kaelin held her gaze, holding her fragile hope in his hands. This was the precipice. This was where her terrifying obsession met his strategic empathy. He had shown her the wound. Now he had to offer the cure. Then you must trust that if I truly leave, it would be because you never let me truly stay in the first place, he said, his voice a soft, unwavering promise. But if you truly let me stay, Serafina, truly let me be myself, then I promise you, you will have a husband whose devotion is absolute. A love far fiercer and truer than any you could ever force. He watched her, silent, waiting. Her eyes searched his, a whirlwind of conflicting emotions swirling within their violet depths. Fear, longing, anger, hope. Could she take the leap? Could she truly believe in a love that demanded freedom, not chains? The answer to that question would define their future, one way or another. The scent of antique leather and freshly brewed Earl Grey tea had become Kaelin's morning ritual, a stark contrast to the sterile, hurried breakfasts of his youth. Sunlight, filtered through the impossibly high windows of the Volkov estate's morning room, cast shifting patterns across the polished mahogany table where he now sat, a tablet in hand. Across from him, Serafina watched, not with the predatory intensity of their first encounters, but with a quiet, almost domestic fascination. Her gaze still lingered, a possessive warmth that had, over time, transformed from a chill down his spine to a comforting blanket. He no longer felt like a specimen under her microscope, but a cherished, complex being she wished to understand in every nuance. He met her eyes, a soft smile gracing his lips. Another project proposal, she asked, her voice a low purr. She gestured to the tablet he was reviewing, a document detailing a sustainable agricultural initiative for one of the Volkov family's vast and used rural properties. This had become his latest endeavor, a way for him to contribute, to find purpose within the gilded cage that was now, undeniably, his home. Yes, Kaelin confirmed. The initial projections look promising. We could revitalize a significant portion of the local economy while establishing a new revenue stream. It also aligns with the family's historical values of land stewardship. He paused, looking at her expectantly. What are your thoughts? Serafina leaned forward, her silver eyes thoughtful. Her dark hair, usually meticulously styled, was today cascaded over one shoulder, a few strands escaping, giving her a softer, more approachable air. She had learned to loosen her grip, not just on him, but on herself. I find it intriguing, she admitted. Your insights into the market, Kaelin, they continue to surprise me. My advisors focus on traditional investments. You see potential in nurturing things. Growth. A subtle emphasis on the last word, a shared understanding passing between them. He wasn't just growing projects, he was growing her. He nodded, a sense of quiet triumph unfurling in his chest. This was how she showed her trust, her evolving restraint. No longer did she demand his full attention with petty dramas or fabricated emergencies. She granted him agency, even encouraged it, recognizing that a vibrant, engaged Kaelin was a Kaelin more devoted to her. Their days had settled into a rhythm, one Kaelin had carefully orchestrated. Mornings were for his projects, discussions with estate managers via secure video calls, research into new technologies. Afternoons often saw them together, sometimes working in the sprawling, high-tech library, sometimes exploring the estate's vast gardens or riding the electric ATVs along the mountain trails. Evenings were for shared meals, quiet conversations, or a film in their private cinema. The surveillance was still there, a whisper in the walls, a silent hum of unseen cameras, but Kaelin had long since learned to ignore it. More importantly, Serafina had learned to trust it less. Her reliance had shifted from the cold, digital eyes to the warmth of his presence, the honesty in his gaze. One afternoon, Kalen found himself discussing a complex financial report with Lena, the head maid, in the estate's main office. Lena, a woman who rarely showed emotion, had become a quiet pillar of support, her initial wariness transforming into a subtle, almost maternal approval. She understood Serafina, and she understood Kalen's patient strategy. As they pored over spreadsheets, Kalen felt a familiar, almost imperceptible shift in the air. He glanced up, his eyes immediately finding Serafina standing in the doorway, her posture rigid. The ghost of her old possessiveness flickered in the depths of her silver eyes. It wasn't a glare, not anymore, but a tightening, a tension in her jaw. Lena, ever perceptive, cleared her throat. Mistress Volkov, we were just concluding the quarterly budget review. Kalen, instead of turning away or rushing to appease Serafina, simply offered her a warm, genuine smile. Serafina, darling, we're nearly done. Lena was just explaining some of the intricacies of the estate's diversified portfolio. It's quite impressive. He then turned back to Lena, acknowledging her expertise with a respectful nod. Thank you, Lena. This was very insightful. Lena met his gaze, a hint of something resembling admiration in her stoic features. My pleasure, Mr. Thorne. I'll finalize these figures. With a discreet bow, she exited, leaving Kalen and Serafina alone. The silence that followed stretched, pregnant with unspoken history. Kalen knew what she was feeling, the old anxieties, the fear of being replaced, the instinct to control. But he also knew she was fighting it. He rose slowly, walking towards her, his movements calm and unhurried. He didn't rush to explain himself, nor did he apologize for engaging with another. Instead, he simply reached for her hand, his thumb tracing the delicate bones of her wrist. Trouble, my love? He asked, his voice soft, laced with understanding, not accusation. Serafina's gaze softened, the tension draining from her shoulders. She met his eyes, a vulnerability he now saw regularly shining through the steel. No, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Not trouble. Just a reminder. She squeezed his hand gently. That you're mine. Kalen chuckled softly, bringing her hand to his lips and pressing a kiss to her knuckles. Always, Serafina. But being mine doesn't mean I cease to exist outside your immediate gaze. It means I choose to be here with you, building a life, a future. He looked around the office, then back at her. And sometimes, building that future requires discussions with competent people like Lena. She leaned her head against his shoulder, a silent testament to her growth. I know, she murmured. I am learning. It is simply difficult to shed the habits of a lifetime. And I am here to help you learn, he said, stroking her hair. To show you that trust, true trust, doesn't diminish love. It strengthens it, makes it boundless. This was the new bargain, the unspoken covenant between them. He had offered her genuine affection, understanding, and companionship, and in return, she had begun to dismantle the walls of her own making, allowing her fierce love to flow for him, rather than imprison him. He had learned to see past the terrifying Yandere, to the lonely girl starved for genuine connection, and then to the powerful, intelligent woman who, when directed by love, could move mountains. And she, in turn, saw him not as a possession, but as her equal, her partner, the one person who truly saw her. Over dinner, as they sat in the grand dining hall, lit by the gentle glow of a crystal chandelier, Kalen found himself reflecting on the journey. His family, those who had sold him, rarely crossed his mind now, their betrayal a distant echo. His purpose had been forged in the crucible of this estate, in the challenging, intoxicating project of transforming Serafina. He hadn't just survived, he had thrived. Kalen, Serafina began, pulling him from his thoughts. The agricultural project. I've approved the initial funding. You'll have full autonomy for its implementation. Her silver eyes gleamed, not with a controlling light, but with pride. Show them what you can do. A warm surge filled him. This was it. This was his purpose, his freedom, granted by the very woman who had once stripped him of it. He was no longer a victim. He was a partner, an architect of their shared world. He reached across the table, taking her hand. "Thank you, Serafina. You won't regret it." She smiled, a slow, radiant blossoming that took his breath away. "I know I won't. Because I trust you. And because everything you do, Kaylin, you do for us." He looked into her eyes, seeing the depth of her devotion, the boundless energy of her love, now channeled into support, into collaboration, into a shared future. She was still intense, still fiercely protective, but her possessiveness had transmuted into a powerful, unwavering loyalty. She was no longer a captor, but a co-creator. He had set out to make her his perfect wife, and he realized he had succeeded, not by erasing her nature, but by shaping it, by guiding her formidable passion towards mutual fulfillment. Her perfection lay not in meekness or compliance, but in the ferocity of her love, now tempered by trust and respect, dedicated wholly to him, on his terms. As he looked at her, truly seeing the woman she had become, Kaylin felt a profound sense of peace, and something more potent, something unexpected, genuine love. He had fallen for her, the powerful, dangerous, utterly devoted woman who was now his wife. Their bond was unconventional, forged in obsession and refined by empathy, but it was undeniably real, unshakable, and uniquely theirs. He raised his glass. "To us," he said, his voice husky with emotion. "To our future." Serafina met his gaze, her hand still clasped in his, her smile unwavering. "To our future, Kaylin," she echoed, her eyes burning with an incandescent love that promised a lifetime of fervent devotion, a love that would never waver, never fade, and now, finally, never imprison. It was a love that was terrifying in its intensity, yet utterly captivating, and Kaylin, for the first time in his life, felt truly, completely home. And as the long shadows of twilight crept across the vast, isolated estate, Kaylin knew their story was far from over. Their unique love, born from the depths of her obsession and his strategic empathy, was a fragile, potent thing, a fortress built against a world that would never understand. But within its walls, protected by her fierce devotion and his unwavering presence, they had forged a destiny unlike any other, a captivating, dangerous, and irrevocably intertwined existence. The world beyond their estate might fear Lady Serafina Volkov, but Kaylin Thorne knew her truth. She was his perfect wife, and he, her devoted husband, ready to face whatever came next together.